Hello. For our presentation, we chose to go with one of the most famous chips out there, the Intel Core i9. My name is Sayant.
My name is Naranjana. And so Intel is a household name when it comes to manufacturing memory chips and processors. Many devices we see today, ranging from desktops to mobile devices, all use CPUs and microprocessors manufactured by Intel. Overall, Intel is known to have faster processors that allow for better connectivity. While Intel is primarily known for its x86 microprocessor, we wanted to focus on its latest installation of the Intel Core family of processors, which is the Intel Core i9. Um, so Intel Core processors in general were introduced in 2006. However, Intel came out with its newest installation of the Intel Core i9 in 2019, or sorry, 2017, excuse me. The primary focus of the CPU was to support entertainment streaming, gaming, and video editing due to its immersive displays and graphics. Today, Intel Core i9 is a leading competitor in the entertainment industry, specifically the gaming industry.
All right, so as far as analysis goes, we can start off with specifications. So the specs of the Intel Core i9 really lend it to applications that require lots of parallel processing. You have 8 cores and 16 threads that you can run different instructions on. The clock frequency or clock rate um, ranges from 3.1 gigahertz, but you can overclock that up to 5 gigahertz. And then what's really interesting is the microarchitecture. It's part of a bigger family called the Skylake architecture, but the specific generation that we're talking about, the ninth generation, is part of the Coffee Lake Refresh architecture. And then the instruction set used by this is a CISC architecture, it uses CISC, specifically the x86 instruction set. So going deeper into how the actual micro architecture is kind of laid out. So whenever you're actually using the chip, everything starts off in the back end where you have 4 simple and 1 complex instruction decoder, along with the instruction micro op cache that is there for performing really quick micro operations, which have really been performed recently. So basically, like very small, low intensive operations that are being repeated in a certain program. They're placed in the instruction micro op cache. In this case, it's called the decoded I cache, the DSB, and and um, and basically the system refers to that whenever it encounters one of these repeated instructions. After this, it goes to the instruction decode queue or the main instruction queue, where instructions are kind of decoded out of order into what would be the most optimal way to implement the queue. And there is also a loop detector that also detects when these instructions enter loops. After this, commands are sent to the allocation queue, where allocate, rename, retire, move elimination, and zero commands are filtered out, or sorry, translated. And then all of these are placed in the scheduler, where which basically just coordinates the execution of these instructions by sending off each instruction to its respective port. So in this case, if I had some sort of instruction that dealt with integer addition, it would be sent over to either port 0, port 1, or port 5, which contain the integer ALU functions. So after this, as you can see, each port, like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of different ALU functions in there that allow each instruction to be executed through its respective component. And yeah, so the ports basically just offer a way to actually execute each instruction.
So Sayan talked a little bit about the 9th generation core i9 processor. In addition to that, there's a 10th generation and an 11th generation. So in our reviews, we wanted to capture the differences between 3 of these generations. Um, Starting with the first one, which was the 9th generation. So we looked at a review from Trusted Reviewers, which is a site that is known to review various hardware. They even had multiple benchmarking tests to provide a good perspective on the 9th generation processor's performance compared to its leading competitors. So as you can see, Trusted Reviewers gave it a 4.5 out of 5. As mentioned earlier, the ninth generation has 8 cores and 16 threads. It's geared towards gaming and content creation. However, according to trusted reviewers, it's better for content creation compared to gaming, since there are better options in the market for gaming processors. The pro is that it has the best clock speed so far, and as Sayant mentioned earlier, it can overclock for up to 5 gigahertz. The cons are that it overheats pretty easily. It is more expensive, and economically, there are better options available, such as the AMD Ryzen. The second review was the 10th generation. This review, we looked at the review from Tom's Hardware, which is another website that reviews hardware, various types of hardware. This site gave them 3.5 out of 5, so a little lower than the previous reviewer. Unlike the 9th generation, the 10th generation has more cores. It has 10 cores and 20 threads. Again, it's geared towards gaming and content creation, just like all the other Core i9s are. The pros are that it is faster and better in performance than the ninth generation. It has an increased clock speed, increased DRAM and cache memory. The cons are that because there are more cores, there is increase in overheating as well, more so than the previous generation. And again, economically, there are more efficient options available, like the newer generation of the AMD Ryzen. The last review we looked at was the 11th generation. This was a review from The Verge, which isn't particularly experienced in reviewing hardware particularly, but they reviewed the 11th generation, and the 11th generation actually goes back to using 8 cores and 16 threads, so back to the same amount of cores and threads as the ninth generation. The pros are that, again, it has a high clock speed similar to the ninth generation. It's more effective than harmful for gaming, even though you would think that the reason why they reverted back to 8 cores is so that it could be more effective than harmful for gaming processors as a gaming processor, excuse me. The other pro is that it has a high availability on the market compared to its competitors, so a lot of gamers can have easy access to this processor. The cons are that it, again, overheats, and same thing, competitors are the AMD Ryzen. And that is the conclusion of our presentation. Thank you so much.